Oh no. Hi everybody. I'm back again. Sorry about that, Twitch people. As you can tell, I'm multicasting. Um, yeah. So and I'm early tonight. An hour before. But this is actually around the time when I want to be starting. That's kind of like the goal. I I don't have a set time. It's just gonna happen. Um watching the past streams because or just join in later. It's fine. Um, Tonight, sorry, I'm really, really cold again. It's just because heat rises and it's just really, really cold where I am. Not really. Okay, let's back that up here. I'm not that cold. I just get cold easily, so it's not that relatively to other people who are living in weather. That's not me. I'm just chilly with no good reason aside from that it's a damp cold. But I'm not here to talk about the weather. Really, I'm not. Um, Tonight, I'm here to read yet another chapter in the manuscript of my dad's. It's called "The Sword and the Rose," and tonight I'm actually going to do two chapters instead of just the one, because I really feel like I want to read through this fairly quickly, not speed wise, but like yesterday, there's no way I could have because I came in so late. But if I'm here around this time, then I wanna do at least 2 chapters, um, because I still have a bunch of editing to do afterwards, and I haven't been doing the editing, which is its own problem. Um, yeah, so trying to remember when last we met, when last we left off with our previous chapter. They start talking one of the people, a group of people come to Gwelsor, and they are asking for protection because a neighboring baron is looking at has claimed this land, and so they would like to have protection from this lord. Um, that's pretty much that. Beyond which, I'm just gonna probably launch right into it again, unless I have another rant about historical places of women and women's role in history. I'm gonna try not to rant about that too much, but I do feel strongly about it, and I may get triggered. Wherein the person reading is actually being triggered rather than the audience, although you might be as well. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read through this and then make this better. Um, I won't. I won't make allowances. Although I will say that things were a lot different earlier on, and things have changed. Um, yeah, and they may change again. Who knows? But I will say that if I get triggered, I will respond. And then I do apologize if anyone else feels frustrated by some of the roles of women in the story, but it also is very much a historical historical piece, historical fantasy, but not really because it's got magic in it. So you know. Alrighty. So without further ado, I'm going to start reading chapter 3 of Sword in the Rose. Jadal was at his post in good time the next morning. No one had beaten him, eaten him, or done anything, or done more than make him the butt of the usual jokes among the pages. So he is looking almost eager. Practice armor today, Jadal. I intend to go out. I intend to go out to strike at the pels this morning. That wise? Nalgop was frowning. Gwalsar smiled. Wiser than sitting about letting my skills atrophy through disuse, Malga. Your balance still awkward. And will I get rid of the awkwardness by refusing to practice? You give those slinking wolves any hint you quite not perfect, you know what it's going to say to them? How should I practice, Malga? Stand in my rooms and swing my sword at things? I already promised Jadal's mother that I would do him no harm. Laugh about it, but you make job protecting you serious difficult. Older ones help us, Malga. I will take precautions, but I will not slink around. Fearful that fearful that people will see some chance and opportunity to do me harm. I will go out, I will show my skill, such as it is, and I will make them wonder just what I might have in mind. Might I just be encouraged some of them to make a misstep so I can use them as terrible examples? So I will go out and strike at the Pels today. Yes, my most great and honorable Lord Baron. Balser glanced over his shoulder at the sardonic expression on the face of his man and burst out laughing. Did I sound too utterly domineering, Malga? Maybe a little bit. But as favor to me, be careful with yourself, eh? I just go wander out and look at practice grounds. When Melgathop had gone, Gwalsor noticed Jadal looking at him wide-eyed. The boy turned suddenly to his work, the back of his neck reddening. Jadal? Yes, my lord? Jadal turned back but kept his head down. Is something wrong? Well, the boy looked up suddenly. My lord, do you always allow him such familiarity? Gwalsor laughed. How can I demand strict observance of forms of from the man who sent me on my first horse, who taught me to use my who first taught me to use a sword? If I tried it, he would go around calling me my Lord Baron every time I turned around until I got sick of it and begged him to stop. Yes, my lord. Now, is my armor ready? Yes, my lord. I'll need your assistance. He held up his left arm. This makes buckles and laces difficult. Jedal's face reddened. My lord, Gwalsor cut him off. Oh, yes, your first speech regarding my condition. No, this has nothing to do with pressing home to you how unmannerly you were. I do need assistance with my armor, as I told you already. That is one of the things you will be called upon to manage. By now, Malga will be investigating the practice yard to discover the places where ambushes could be laid against me. Surely you would not see all his pains to go for naught. Jadal managed a faint smile and went to work. So, Forith, how bad was it? Forith and the Baron were walking back from the practice yard, and Forith had just given a brief account of the preparation for the expedition to Gwilla's Hole. The new marshal hesitated. Come, Forith, you ought to know by now. I have no intention of trapping you into saying something unwise and using it against you. Speak up. Forith stroked his hand down his beard and said slowly, Well, my lord, since you ask, you are a little awkward. You'd still be getting yourself used to your body's new balance then. Sorry. You'd still be getting yourself used to your body's new balance then? I am, Gwalsar grimaced. And I think you may still be attempting to spare my feelings. What would you have said to one of your recruits if he did as badly as I? That he go back to and practice again for another hour? Long habits of service to those of noble birth caught him. But I would not say that to you, Lord. Salter's tears, why not? Am I not as likely as any of your recruits to end up dead if I don't swing a sword properly? Well, yes, I suppose so, but you are Lord Marshal of Grandel Barony, and I do not punish people for speaking the truth. And you are right. I should be back there practicing for another hour. Save that there are 101 other things that require my attention in this barony. I suppose we shall have to depend heavily on my personal guard if we ever fight a battle. Okay, hold on. I need to write a note in here. As per usual, I end up having to write a little bit of a few notes, so bear with me. Tamerlane the magician stood before the Baron, dressed in his usual flamboyant style. Green hose, black doublet, with slashed sleeves and red inserts, and his head decked with a flat black cap, complete with a blue tassel. My Lord Baron, you do me a great honor, but Balsar cut him off with a sharp bark of laughter. I do you great discomfort, you mean. I ask you to forsake the ease of Grandel Castle to join me in a military expedition, with all that means. May I be so bold as to ask why you have chosen me, my lord? Balsar shrugged. You were brought to my attention on my first day in the castle, and you proved yourself capable. I do not order you to accompany me, but if you refuse, I shall have short time to find another magician who has no known grudge against me on behalf of the old baron. Why any magician at all, my lord? Balsor shrugged again. No good reason, my good master magician. Only a whim, a feeling that it might be advantageous to have a magician along. Has this anything to do with your Lafetta companion? The Baron smiled. No, he has sniffed out nothing in particular. This is just a feeling of mine. Cumberland nodded. I see. Well, my lord, I ride adequately, but not well, and have no horse of my own. I ask that you give orders for a horse to be supplied to me for the trip, and preferably a tame one. Walsor smiled slightly. Thank you, Master Pemberland. I will look forward to your presence. A page bearing a message from Ralno found Gwalsor in the stables. My Lord Baron, the Lord Ralno bids me to tell you that the chief priest, Twanik, requires an audience with you. Gwalsor frowned at the boy. Surely, he says, desires an audience, not requires an audience. No, my lord. He was most definite about that. Tell the my lord baron that the chief priest requires an audience. Gwalsor's frown grew deeper. Are the priests here in the south in the habit of giving orders to their lords? The page was flustered now. Well, my lord baron, my own father says it wasn't so in his younger days, but they've been pushing themselves in the past years, taking every bit of power they can manage. He then flushed at his forwardness. Gwalsor continued to frown. Well, I suppose I'd best go see what he wants. Okay, give me 1 second here. Allergies incoming, so bear with me. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, everybody. That was horrible. But this is what happens when you're live. You can't really pause the live recording. Okay. Yes. Where were we? Off to see Priest Twenick. The priest Twenick wore red robes. Oh boy. Red was the color of sacrifice, by tradition restricted to use in the temples on the days when sacrifice was offered to the old ones. Sorry, to the older ones. In recent times, though, many priests had taken to wearing red on any occasion when they were rem- remonstrating with anyone, particularly nobility. On his head, he wore a flat black cap with ear flaps that hung down just in front of his ears. He was a stout man, though not obese, with an aquiline nose and a pair of stern gray eyes. I thank you for allowing me to see you, my lord Baron. You left the impression that it was important. And so it is. The priest took a deep breath. It is my understanding that you are consorting with the magician Pemberlent. We who serve the older ones, the gods, feel it necessary to give you warning regarding this man. Gloucester drew himself up. And who presumes to say who I may or may not consort with? The, pri- the priest was a stout man and more than girth. My lord, the magician Pemberlent is suspected of carrying out divinations of the future, which, as I am sure you are aware, is a matter of trespassing on the prerogatives of the older ones. Therefore, we who serve the older ones strongly suggest that you disassociate yourself from this man. Gloucester considered this. Suspected, you say? Suppose I say to you that you are suspected of failing to counsel the old baron against treason, and therefore suspected of treason yourself. And therefore I ought not, in the eyes of the king, and by your own logic, to consort with you. It is not the same thing at all. The priest's eyes were blazing. No, it seems to me almost exactly the same thing. Bring me some proof that Pemberlent has indeed carried out divinations, and I will deal with the accusations at the time. Until then, do not think to suggest who is and who is not fit to give me advice and assistance. You are dismissed. My lord, I insist. You are dismissed. Malga, will you be so good as to escort Master Twanick from my presence? Twanick looked at Malgathup as the fighter's hand closed on his arm. The Lafetta grinned. Best come. He's serious angry. Stay not in good notion. Stay not good notion. He ushered the glowering priest out of the room. When Malgathup returned, the Baron grinned at him. Laying the accent on a little thick, weren't you, Malga? Malga shrugged and grinned back. Easier that way. He think I barbarian, barely talk the language. He not try to argue. And I not have to put sword through him. But I warn you, it not serious good idea to make bad friends too many people all together. Your guards only be able to look so many directions one time. You'd have me take head of all that man's take heed of all that man's hints and suggestions and suspicions? No, but you may say maybe say something like, I hear you, and I serious think about what you say. You need not do anything, but you keep old Red Robe from thinking you enemy. Gloucester sighed and rubbed his leather cap stump of his left hand across his brow. Older ones have mercy. This business of being a baron is no simple thing, is it? Tell me, Malga, am I wrong, or is there a difference between the priests here in the south and the priests we had up north? It seems to me that up there, the priests were most often respected for their wisdom and good advice. Down here, they seem to demand not just respect, but authority and obedience. I say maybe you make it a little strong. Gloucester waved away with a sweep of his arm. Oh, I'm not saying the North's perfect and the South's gone thoroughly decadent. And in the back of his domineering attitude, Chief Priest Twenick does have some concern for the possible response of the gods towards divining. But I think it takes it too a bit far and uses it for his own. He takes it a bit too far and uses it for his own ends. And all this business of divinations. Tell me, Melga, were there not people casting divinations in every village up north? And were there not a priest or two involved in it? I had heard that the people and the priests of the South had declared that it was against the will of the gods, but never thought it had gone this far. I not give you advice about gods, spirits, whatever, just about people. Maybe you think hard on this, though. You not up north anymore. You in south. Maybe you change yourself a little bit? Not insist all these people change for you. Wellstar noticed Brennan's approach from across the ground where he was watching the recruits at their sword practice. He thought of her as an admirable woman in many ways. Life had kept turning things around on her, and she'd had a good marriage to the brother of a baron, and she had a son. Then her husband was brought home on a litter, and her world shrank to contain only her son. Further circumstances made her son the heir to the barony, which made her an important figure once more. But Rafael had let the prince convince him to join the rebellion. Suddenly the rebellion was over, and her brother-in-law dead, and her world shrank again to only her son, whose future appeared doubtful. Instead of fleeing home to her father, she had stayed at Grandal. From what he had seen and heard about her, it was not merely a matter of paralysis. Such a flight might have well drawn the new baron's attention to the matter, possibly involving her father in some kind of situation which he, as a minor knight holder in a neighboring built barony, could ill afford. And while they might have hidden away while he rode it in, she undoubtedly considered this and decided against it. He'd heard by now some of the stories that had gone around about him, and he could hardly fault her for trying to keep the boy out of his clutches, though she'd come off sounding shrill and tiresome. Okay, that's another issue. And worse still, the tone had been set between the two of them, so that she remained antagonistic to him. So now she was approaching him, her face held firm with purpose, and he hoped she wasn't not going to make a demand on him that he would not be able to fulfill. Good day, Lady Brennan. Good day to you, my Lord Baron. I was told I would find you here. Your son is well. He doesn't complain. She laughed, and motherly exasperation showed on her face. Ha ha! On the contrary, my lord, it's nothing but my Lord Baron this and my Lord Baron that. It's only. She stopped, as if unsure to carry on. Come, lady, surely by now even you know that I am not so hard to speak to. He saw at once that this was the wrong thing to have said, and for she stiffened. Lord Baron, do you plan to take my son on this expedition tomorrow? He frowned. I suppose it is a good thing I did not intend this expedition to be a secret. I wonder if Wardick knows about it by now as well? My Lord Baron, she persisted, do you plan to take my son? He is my page. He is old enough to come along. Absent some good cause, he will accompany me, yes. Could you not leave him, my lord? He is my only son. Did he ask you to come to me? Of course not. He's eager to go. But he's only a boy, my lord. Several thoughts were going through Growlsor's mind, chief among them being that Jadal's status, the only page who went home to his mother at night, was causing the boy trouble with the other pages. Then, too, what was the duty of a page but to serve his master? Lady Brennan, I need my page with me, and if he is willing to come, then I see no reason to keep him back. I will do my best to keep him safe, of course. And if your best should not be good enough, what then? Annoyance caught him. Lady, your son might take a tumble down the steps while supposedly safe here in the castle and die of it. There is nothing that can be warranted for certain. Even so, I will hold you responsible if anything happens to him. She turned and strode out without taking leave. Balthasar wished he could think of some way to bring her back, short of giving in to a demand that would only make Jadal's life with the other pages more miserable. Sorry. The inn was shabby and smelly, and the innkeeper professed to know nothing of the dealings that went on and the bargains that were struck within its dingy confines. The small blonde man absently twiddled with the short dagger sitting on the rough tabletop. His pose seemed very relaxed, but to one who knew the sort, it was clear that in the blink of an eye that dagger could be in someone's throat. He was not furtive at all. No glances around the inn to see who might be listening, despite the fact that they were in a dark corner. He shook his head slightly. Not good enough. For him, I'll have to be ready to run, and to outrun pursuit. That means one horse at the spot, another further on. I'm sure you don't want them catching me and putting me to the question. 50 gold, then. The hooded man across the table spoke quietly. He showed no self-consciousness either. It was a mere business deal, and he was well aware of the distance between this table and the nearest other patron. The blond man shook his head again. 100. I'll be leaving one of the horses behind, and I have to have money to live on too. You want to try? Maybe you can get someone cheaper, but then you get what you pay for. 100 then. No, I'm not going to pass it across the table. The pouch will be under the bench here when I leave. The blond man's eyes widened a little. All counted out? Then what was that bargaining all about? The hooded man shrugged. You never know. Maybe sometimes one can save a little money. Goodbye, and good luck to you. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's my wits that keep me alive. Okay, so that was chapter 3. Okay. And then and now, yeah, and I'm reading from one version of it. There's still just, yeah, a lot of. There's one version that's shorter than the other, and like I said, I still have to like kind of combine the two together. But I think I already did that in a this is the problem. I have to go through everything and do some more organizing and whatnot. But anyway, without further ado, here is chapter 4. Under his armor, Gwalsor felt the warmth of the day. Still well within his own territory, on the second day of the march, he only wore a little brigandine. Even that was hot. His war horse, Phallus, stepped along briskly beneath him. Phallus had long ago gotten rid of his early morning fidgets, and now moved along at a pace he could keep up all day. In the party immediately around him were Foraith, Malgathup, Markian Derhalevent, and a few other knights. There was also a guard made up partly of the guard from Grandel Castle and partly of the men Gwalsor had brought to the barony with him. These at last in turn consisted of some men of arms he had hired, or rather his father had hired for him, rounded out by a few of his men's barony by whom his father had sent along, so that he need not be constantly surrounded by strange faces. Sorry. I want to rewrite that one part, obviously. I'm going to see what the other section says. Oh, hold on. I think it might be the same. Hold on. Oh, I mean, and this is why I need to read both chapters, like both versions of the chapters. Okay. Saltern Hen Oileth was there, for instance, a tall brown figure who had been part of Gwalsor's life since he could remember, being aware of people. From behind Gwalsor came the usual noises and smells of an army on the march. Horses snorting, accoutrements, jingles, occasional sounds of commands being given. Everything normal. Even the smells of sweaty men and sweaty horses and the scent of horse manure were familiar. After the mounted column of the After the mounted column came the wagons with camp gear and various supplies, including his regular armor, and behind them came the small herd of cattle and goats to be slaughtered for food as needed. The Baron glanced at Malgathump, who was scanning the brush along the side of the trail, and the other. According to law and custom, it was kept cut back half a bow shot on each side of the track, a precaution against outlaws and bandits. Come, Malga, you don't expect an ambush here, do you? Malgathup was riding a muscular black horse today, instead of his reindeer, Farthop. He glanced at the Baron. Maybe not. But we not expect ambush in castle on first night, too. Best be little careful now than serious grateful later. Gwalsor turned to Foraith, who was riding on his other side. Our scouts, Marshal. You have faith in them? I have faith in them, Lord Baron, but Malgathup may well have the right of it. Better careful now than regretful later. The Baron smiled. So between the two of you, you will keep me safe will I or nil I. Perhaps that might become a little Loxia! Malgathup slapped Phallus's rump, and the horse leaped forward. Something whipped past Walter's back, and he recognized the sound of a crossbow quarrel. The scent of roses was in his nostrils. He saw, through a break in the bush off to his left, a rat-faced, brown-haired man winding the crank to cock his crossbow. Gualsor was aware that his sword was out. He spurred Valis toward the man, shrieking some wordless cry as he came. The man abandoned the attempt to recock his crossbow and began to run. Gualsor could now see a horse, tethered a little further beyond the range of the brush. He kicked his own mount into further speed. He came upon the would-be assassin who had jerked the tether free and was scrambling into the saddle. Gualsor struck once to put the man down. Then he jumped down and struck again and again. Then Malcolmthorpe was behind him. "Locksay, your lord! He done! Let me look!" Gualsor stood there shaking, his bloody sword hanging heavy in his hand. The scent of roses was gone. The man at his feet was not a little rat-faced man with brown hair, but a fair-haired, squire-faced man of an average build. "You'll not be wishing to do that? He'll not be wishing to do that sort of thing too often, my lord baron." Under the stress, for his peasant ancestry showed clearly in his speech. "Charging at crossbowmen ain't a good notion. How if he had a partner in there?" Gualsor shook himself and turned to face the marshal, dazed as a man coming out of a dream. "I suppose I'd be dead then, but I'm not, and he is." As he spoke, he began to recover some of his usual humor. "Malcolm's gonna be unhappy with me for not leaving him alive for questioning, too." Malgathop's olive face was grim. Well, think, think, my lord. One man not ambush army for theft. And this man not sort to have private grudge against you. I wager, if we look in his wallet, there we find he have serious much gold on him. And with him dead, no one will tell us who hire him. So man who hire him can hire someone else. Maybe this time, man with more skill, more luck." Wellsor smiled. "I'll try to remember that, Malga, next time a crossbow quarrel goes off flying past me. And by the way, thank you for slapping my horse back there. Without that, I've been skewered." Malgathorpe frowned. "Show gratitude by not do such wild thing another time." Foraith glanced at Malgathorpe. You sniff up ambuscades as well as curses then?" The Lafetta shrugged. "No, not really. Say your curse most ill will strengthened, strong like say your curse mostly ill will strengthened, strong like brewed spirit. Ambushes like weak beer watered. I maybe rest my lord's life on me being able to sniff out curse under his bed or whatever, but never on me be able to sniff out ambush." Okay, even that was like convoluted. Eh, pen. Guelsor looked around. The whole rest of the party who had been with him on the road was around, watching. He picked out one man at arms, Saltern Hen Oleth, a familiar face among the strangers. "Have this," he indicated the dead assassin, "disposed of. We have more important things to do than hang around here debating ambushes and murderers and motives." "Yes, my lord." Saltern turned and called two other names, and they set to work. Guelsor spoke to Foraith. "You might tell your scouts to check the sides of the trail ahead a bit more carefully." "No," he waved off the marshal's apologies. "They're not used to watching out for a baron who's unpopular with many of his people. No punishments for anyone this time." Melgothup spoke up in agreement. Hard stop this sort of thing. This sort of thing. He wait way off from trail, see scouts go by, then move into place. Unless we make whole army ride along beating brush, never find. Toward the evening of that same day, they trotted through the small hamlet of Quinquia Dras. Peasants in the fields looked up only briefly from their work. If the new baron wanted their attention, he would have them called. Otherwise, he might be irked to see them standing around staring when they ought to be working. We'll camp the night just beyond the hamlet, Lord Baron. Welsor nodded his agreement to Forraith. The people in the hamlet itself also looked up briefly and went back about their business. Welsor was just passing the main square when shouting broke out. The events of the day were fresh enough in his mind that he drew his sword at once. As he looked around for the source of the noise, it was easy enough to find. A band of the villagers were beating and kicking at someone in their midst. He might have well ridden on. There were many things that happened in the villages that were not worth a baron's time to bother with. On the other hand, he spurred Valis over and began shouting at them, slapping them with the flat of his blade. What's the meaning of all this? What's happening here? As soon as they realized that a man on horseback among them was a that a man was on horseback was among them, they stopped. Then several of them started talking at once. He held up his left hand and shouted for silence. The stump of his wrist with the hook on the end of it caught their attention, and they fell silent. Now then, one of you tell me what is this brawl about? They looked at each other. Then one of them stepped forward. My lord, it be this Stephen gnome. We be wailing on him for him to learn him. Oh, and what has he stolen? What? Oh, not as yet, my lord baron, but we be wishing to make sure. He felt himself frowning. So you beat him just in case? Why, yes, of course. You know how it be with gnomes, Lord Baron. No, I fear I do not know. Hey, just give me a second again. I'm so sorry. Sorry, everybody. Allergies are really, really bad this tonight. Holy. Alrighty. Where were we? Ah, yes. Gnome beating. No, I fear I do not know. But then neither do I think it justice to have the punishment before the crime. But my lord baron, will you argue with me then? He drew himself up and the men fell back. No, no, your pardon, my lord baron. The baron looked around. It was fairly clear what would happen once he and his party rode on. Thief or no, the gnome may not survive the evening. Fourth, have a couple of men pick up this fellow and bring him along with us, and as a guest, not a prisoner. When I talk with him this evening, I'll not want to see any extra bruises on him. Yes, Lord Baron. He was small, scarcely half the size of a full-grown man. He was coarse-featured, and dark hair grew thick on his heavily muscled chest and forearms. He had dark eyes, too, though one of them was swollen almost shut, and he bore other bruises about him. He smiled crookedly due to the swelling on the left side, and his features, already coarse, were not much improved by the fact that some time previously his nose had been broken. Your name? I, Edekdal, most noble. Edekdal? Are you a thief, Edekdal? The little man shrugged. If you say so, most noble. Ah, but I wish for you to say something, Edekdal. What are you? Whatever you require, most noble. Gwalsor smiled grimly. If this is the way you spoke to the people of your village, to the people of the village, it's little wonder that they beat you. Do you not give a straight answer to any question? Whatever you require, most noble. There was a flicker of humor in his dark eyes. Then he seemed to relax a little. Your pardon, most noble. Often enough, people of your race will decide what my race should be, and any answer at all stirs up wrath. And until I could see just what sort of person you were, it seemed better that I should agree with you. And even if you said we walk on the sky with the ground above our heads, and after that I could not help but bait you a little bit. As for my being a thief, the people of the village had already made that decision. Gnome equals thief. For for you say I for you I say I am not. But how do you know I tell the truth? You can only watch and see if anything goes missing and ends up in my hands. An answer almost worthy of a scholar, Edicta. I will ask another question then. What were you doing in the village? Where they obvi- who- What were you doing in the village where they obviously disliked and distrusted you so? Edicta shrugged knotty shoulders. There is hunger in the forest, most noble. Some must seek food elsewhere, that others may have enough to eat. And even the most distrustful of your race will admit that most of the gnomes are skilled workers with their hands, so we can earn our bread, if we are allowed to do so. I see. Gwelsor thought a moment, tapped his fingers on the leather-covered stump of his left wrist, then spoke again. Why not take a place with me? There's food available, and you'd be answerable only to me. Edicdal smiled slightly. Are you sure you want that, most noble? You still want me to swear to serve you and serve you alone for all my life? But I am of the forest people, of the Galza, Galzalai, the gnomes. And the forest calls to me, calls always to me. And one day I will go back to the forests. And perhaps I will come out again, and perhaps I will not. And when the call is too strong, I will go, whether you forbid me or no. And what will you say of me then, most noble? That you are perhaps more that perhaps you are perhaps more honest than many I know. Suppose I make you this agreement, Edicta, that you that when you feel called to return to the forest, you go. I would, of course, wish that you do not desert me when I desperately need you, and I prefer that you inform me of your departure. What do you say to that? Edicta smiled his crooked smile in return. You want me to accompany you that badly, most noble? Gwalsor chuckled. Call it a whim. I have a magician along with me on a similar whim, and perhaps she might be helpful to us, if gnomes are so useful with their hands. And besides, you can hardly go back to Quinquadras after what has happened there today. I doubt you'll survive one night. The gnome bowed. Then I will come with you, most noble, and I will serve you as well as I am able. Late the next afternoon, they halted. Half an hour's ride will take us into Gwilla's Hole. Oh, sorry, will take us into Gwilla's Hole, Lord, Forrest said. We ought to make some sort of plan. Let the men stop, make camp, but stay alert. Have sentries set all around, just in case Wardick's men have scouts out this far. I will have some of our best men scout forward to see what they find out. Welser shot a look at the sun's position. They wouldn't be able to report back until dark, or after, would they? I suppose any attack will have to wait until tomorrow. Forrest stroked a gauntleted hand down over his beard. I'd say so. You're somewhat urgent to get into battle, Lord. Ha! More like urgent to have it over and done with. He looked down reflectively. 2 years back, I was a boy, eager for battle. I lost that for certain. He looked up suddenly. That doesn't. Oh my goodness. Holy. Once again, I am very sorry. I am having serious allergies today. It is not a cold. It is completely allergies. I mean, go on. If I could, if I wasn't live streaming, I would shut it off and start again. So I do apologize. Thank you for your patience. I suppose the attack will have to wait until tomorrow. Fourth stroked a gauntleted hand over his beard. I'd say so. You're somewhat urgent to get into battle, Lord. Ha! More like urgent to get it over and done with. He looked down reflectively. 2 years back when I was a boy eager for battle. I'm sorry, 2 years back, I was a boy eager for battle. I've lost that for certain. He looked up suddenly. That doesn't mean I'll avoid battle at all costs, though. So don't worry on that score. It's just that I've learned a little bit of caution. When the camp had been set up and the animals taken care of, Gwelsor called to Jadal. Find the magician Pemberlin and tell him I would have a word with him as soon as possible. Yes, my lord. The boy was off. Not long afterward, the page returned, with Pemberlin close behind. For all the hot and dusty march that day, the magician seemed clean and tidy. The doublet he was wearing was plainly cut, but the red went well with his green hose. He bowed. You sent for me, lord? I did. We need to know whatever we can find out about Wardick's men and how they are disposed. Can your magic do for anything for us in that regard? The magician gave some careful thought, then said, There are several spells, of course, for seeing things from afar, but their results are not always to be trusted. There is another way, though. Among my qualifications, I claim the title of the Master of the Many-Legged. It means I have some ability to control the actions of such things as insects, spiders, and some small animals. Which means, which means, my lord, that I can see through their eyes and make notes of what they see. I can even provide some drawings, which I'm certain will be of help to you in this case. How much time will you require? Within 2 hours, I can have some results. After 6 hours, I should probably have seen all there is to see. Will you need anything special? No, only attend to myself and as much quiet as possible. Yes, I realize that I'm in a camp full of soldiers, but if it could be arranged for there to be reasonable quiet in my immediate vicinity, I could get better results. Jadel, find Forth. Tell him Master Pemberland has certain requirements, and I would appreciate it if he could do whatever he can to fill them. Yes, Lord Baron. The page dashed out. So that is that. I had massive allergy attack tonight, and I never know about it right away. So I can't really necessarily stop it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, one of the things I'm noticing is that there's kind of like a little bit of a theme about all these people who are coming from all these different cultures, and in some cases, like race, and them actually being like racist against gnomes. So it's interesting because you have all these different people and they're all these different classes and everything like that that also have to work together in this community. So I find that interesting. Um yeah, it makes me think a bit about it. I mean, all of this like trying to like make sure that the races are like being considered and are respected in each of their varying different ways. And yet, sorry, but that's why I'm working on the story is to try and bring agency to the female population because the males, no matter what race or or station, are trying to be treated fairly. Now, if only we could do the same thing for the females. I know that's my little thing. I didn't rage about it tonight, but it's an interesting thought about that. Yeah, everything. So tomorrow, it sounds like we'll be digging into the Battle of Gula's Hole, and this turns out to be a very key point of the story. So I'm gonna try and because I've already read the story before, so I do remember that this has a lot of weight. So whatever happens, I do need to like make sure that all the lead up to it and everything like that has the right amount of weight to it. I we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but I feel like there's gonna be some more things I'm gonna have to add, and I know there's some more stuff I have to add in at the beginning based on some of the notes that I left here from last time. So that'll be nice because I'll be able to work through that. Um, yeah. So without further ado, I do appreciate you all and everyone for putting up with me and my like allergy ness and my inability to be able to edit it out because I'm doing this all live. Ha. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to sign off for now. Hopefully tomorrow will be less allergy stricken, and I will talk to you all then. Look for me again between 5:30 and 6:30 range. The butter zone being probably shortly after between 6 and 6:30 ideally. But we'll see because life happens. Anyway, Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all again tomorrow. Bye.